Today I'm going to talk about the programs that I'm starting. So one of them is going to be a Wellness Wednesdays program. And it's not just on Wednesdays. I also have a Tuesday at 1 o'clock. And then after the Tuesday at 1 o'clock, I have a herbal session. So I'll talk about herbs and stuff like that. And they'll all be recorded. They'll all be on my YouTube channel, and they'll all be on social media. So I'll have plenty of links on the website. So it'll be available for everybody. The Wellness Wednesdays will be at 6 o'clock, and it'll go anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes. But if anybody knows me, I tend to talk a lot. What this is building towards is a bigger program. So a program that you can actually sign up for and work more closely with me on health and wellness, nutrition, and stuff like that. The second program is the Wholehearted Living program. And the Wholehearted Living program is not Brene Brown's program. It's not about shaming and all that kind of stuff. It's actually working on being a better person and looking at yourself and seeing how you show up in the world and how that affects both the people around you and yourself and how you perceive life. So we're going to talk about the programs a little bit, and then we'll start into the information next week. So I'll break it down for you. So the Wellness Wednesdays program, or the Tea with Cami on Tuesdays at 1 o'clock, is two options to listen to pretty much the same lecture. I won't talk exactly the same, but it'll be pretty much the same information. So if you're looking for similar information, those are the two options: 1 o'clock on Tuesday and 6 p.m. on Wednesdays. Doesn't matter which one, they'll all be recorded if you missed one, and it'll be on all my social media stuff. And I have even more social media than this, but this is the major ones. And also you can access everything from the website, whenshifthappens.org. All right, so the Wellness Wednesdays and the Tea with Cami are two wellness series programs. So we're going to have about 10 weeks. So we'll go all the way up until Christmas. And we'll talk each Wednesday and Tuesday about certain topics. So the topics will we'll start with the 4 pillars of health. And I'll talk about that a little bit tonight. And then we'll go into the Ayurvedic clock and all of those. So the 4 pillars of health are lifestyle. So what you do in your daily life. What you create as habits, and habits can be positive and negative. So looking at habits as what is the most productive way to be able to live your life so that you can live the healthiest life possible. The next will be nutrition. So nutrition is obviously a very touchy subject in Western culture, because Eastern practitioners think a little bit different than Western practitioners do. And I will talk, of course, from the Ayurvedic perspective, but with the education of Western education and information to go with that. And in that, we will also talk about the senses. So it won't be just about the food we take in, but about everything that we take in. So what we take in through our eyes and our ears, and what we take in taste, and what we touch, and how that affects us. So it's not just nutrition as far as what we eat, but overall nutrition of what it is to have wellness with with nourishing our life. So nourishing with all of our senses. Then we have sleep. Sleep's a big topic because it's getting to be more and more of an issue in our culture. Poor sleep, or waking up a lot, or as you age, you start to notice that your sleep changes a little bit. So we'll talk about sleep. And then the final one is energy management. So let's talk about stress management and what stress management means and how that can affect your life, and how managing your energy and realizing, not everything is so intensely important. In fact, very little things in our life are very intensely important. A lot of the things can kind of fall by the wayside. So I'm going to talk about each week now. So each week we will cover different topics. So tonight we're covering, we just covered what the 4 pillars are. And then we'll go into the Ayurvedic clock. So next week will be the Ayurvedic clock. And we've talked about that a few times before, but again, just talking about it and refreshing your mind. I know when I was in classes, and I continue to take classes and listen to lectures from my teachers and talking about the same topics over and over again, but there's just sometimes I pick up one other key thing. And obviously I've had the summer to be able to try to do more education and found more self in my own experiences and stuff. So I'm always willing to share that stuff. And then the following week will be what do you consume? So nutrition through our senses. So talking about the senses and the importance of keeping our senses healthy, and nutrition that falls into that. The next is sleep. So starting your day the night before, so how starting your night before affects the next day versus starting in the morning as your day starts when the sun comes up. The next week will be exhaustion. So talking about adrenal wisdom. Adrenal wisdom as far as how our adrenals and stress and stuff play a part in our hormones, play a part in our life, how we perceive life, and some tools around that. The next week after that will be consult your constitution. So focusing in Ayurveda, we think about the three constitutions, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Those constitutions make up who we are. So they're very similar to the Western endomorph, extramorph philosophy, but not quite the same. We do it a little bit different, but it means that each of us are unique, and this breaks down a little bit of what that means. So you might have some aha moments. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool to know that I have this kind of protocol that I am, but I'm not the same as everybody else. So everybody's going to have a little bit different mixture of the three doshas or three constitutions. And we'll talk a little bit about that and what that means for your health and wellness journey. After that, there will be a session called meal timing. So what it means, it's why the timing of our eating makes a big difference. And Western has a little different philosophy on this. I'm going with the old practices of Ayurveda. It works well for me, and it's worked well for many of my clients. Sleep hygiene will be the one that follows after that. And then move and groove, proper exercise. So what it means to exercise and why a lot of wellness and fitness routines are really more damaging to our bodies than what they are helpful, especially long term. And women are more affected by that than men in a lot of senses because of energy conservation. And I'll get more into that during that week. The following week after that is feast on the seasonal food. So focusing on nourishing your body through the seasons and what it means to do seasonal eating. The final week is self-awareness and emotional intelligence. So those are the topics for the wellness programs. And in those wellness programs, again, it'll just be a little snippet. And then next year we'll have the full program developed, or I'll have the full program. There's like a we must be me and Rufus, but there'll be a program developed to be able to dive in a little bit deeper and then ask me more questions, because these platforms will offer a lot of interaction, because it makes it a little more difficult to be able to record and get the information out. And I want to keep things fairly simple. All right, the second program that I will be talking about is the Wellness Wednesdays. I mean, not the Wellness Wednesdays. That was the one I just talked about. It will be the Wholehearted Living course. So the Wholehearted Living course is quite a bit different than the other one. So we're going to dive a little bit deeper into more of a spiritual pathway, but not necessarily like voodoo spiritual, like weird awkwardness. It's more that interconnection and knowing that there is an external source. So really diving deeper into that and finding out where we're having what I would call glitches in our life. So at 6:30 on Wednesday nights, that'll be when that part of the program is. And it's little bits and pieces to be able to take you deeper in 2022. So then we'll have I'll have the program developed. And I'm so used to saying we, because usually I have somebody working with me, but I'll have the program developed and we'll go much deeper as a group. And it's really profound work. I had a similar program as part of my teacher training program when I was doing my yoga teacher trainings, when I was teaching those. And we went in depth into these areas of our life where there are glitches, and we sometimes don't realize it until we focus a little energy on it. For those of you that have ever been into like some sort of spiritual study, like a Bible study or something like that, and you start diving a little bit deeper into some of the things that are like, I don't know that I really need to do that anymore. Or I see these patterns in my life that are creating a lot of disturbances, or maybe causing me more stress, because, if I'm judging somebody else, I'm really kind of judging myself in a way. So looking at that. So the first week we'll talk about awareness, judgment, courage, and compassion. So these are really intense topics. So I'm just going to be able to talk a little bit about them, and then we go much deeper in the program in 2022. It's crazy thinking that I'm talking about 2022. Isn't that crazy? The next week after that is truthfulness, belonging, and authenticity. So what it means to be truthful. Truthful in that sense, are we looking at, being honest, truthful, obviously, but also being able to be truthful with ourselves. And when we're actually lying to ourselves about who we are, we might be telling ourselves that we're, worthless and we don't deserve that. And in reality, we deserve goodness. We deserve the sukha, the sweetness of life. And then authenticity, what it is to be us. Like, what is it to be your true authentic self? The week after that would be coveting, how we take from things, how we steal. Stealing, obviously, but more of the taking and not regarding anything else. And then needing and competence. So being able to understand how we have become a very consumer culture, how we've come into the world and we're starting to just take, and we really don't need all that. We really don't need all the extra stuff in our life. I mean, how much stuff can we fit in our house, right? So we buy a bigger house and fill it with more stuff. So looking at kind of that part of our life. And in the program, we'll actually have homework to go with this. I'm going to give a few key things in the talks that we have here, but in the program, we'll go much more in depth and have certain things you can work on. Again, the group sessions that are closed to the group. The following week after that, we'll talk about overindulgence, moderation, balance, and simplicity. So I know in my life, I have really hit into this hard over the last couple of years. So, the years of the shutdowns and the changes, and me working out of the home and now working in the home full time, it's really changed my perspective on this stuff, and keeping my life simple and my friendship simple and keeping me simple. So when I find that I wing off into another whole different world, it's like, is that really the reality of it? So bringing myself back to reality and the moderation in life. So kind of going off of the one before even. So each week we'll build a little bit more into intensity and more depth in building a connection with ourselves and our higher power. And the week after that, what we own owns us, scarcity, fear, and then the simple life. So how scarcity and fear actually play a huge part in how we are as a human culture. So going a little bit more in depth in that. The week after that is gathering life's pieces, so how to bring things together, purity and uncluttering. So uncluttering our life. So there'll be activities that'll go along with that to be able to maybe downsize or change things in your life. Week after that is avoidance, self-acceptance, gratitude, and contentment. So gratitude is a great practice. It's one of the most profound practices, I think, next to having a really strong spiritual practice. But gratitude is a huge part of that. So being grateful for the things that we have. I mean, after all of us that are on this social media stuff have Wi-Fi, have a phone, have probably everything and 100 times more than what we need, and really having gratitude for our lives. So a lot of times what I do with my friends on this is I send them little text messages, and it'll be like 3 things you're grateful for. I'll go first. So then I'll list off things. And of course it's gonna be like house and car and family. It's like blah, 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 blah. I want people to get more in depth. Think about what you're grateful for. Think about the things that you're really like in that day, in that moment, have really just exploded your vibration. So figuring out what that means and what that looks like. The week after that, we'll work on discomfort, discipline, and service. So getting more into the nitty gritty of our humanness and how we can support our community and family and friends. I mean, that's fairly easy, but digging more into the community. So understanding that. The week after that is ego, habits, reflection, and self-study. So starting to go even deeper into the depth of who we are, and if we have a lot to be able to discover about ourselves and our connections. And then the last one is surrender, engagement, acceptance, and wonder. So that is the Wholehearted Living course. And that course is going to have two options starting in 2020. So the first option will be working on self, working on spiritual connection. The second option is going to be more faith-based. So I am a devout Christian, and I've changed my life significantly. In the one course, I will not preach anything on, or I will not talk about, scripture or anything like that. The second option will have that. The second option will have much more in depth, and I will be bringing in one of my friends, and she is well practiced and well versed and much more knowledgeable in the Bible and in faith that way. So there will be two completely different options. They will talk about the same material, but they will talk it from a little bit different perspective. And this is very exciting for me. This is something that's new, and it's the Wholehearted Living course is definitely not new. I've taught that course many times, but to have this different aspect and to bring in my faith and to build the community around that, I think is got a whole different twist and a whole different feeling for it. So again, you have the two options. You can always do the other option later. And I've taught this course a few times. I've had students of mine take it a few times, and every time it's like, wow, I didn't know I could peel another layer. So both of these programs are designed to peel layers away and to get more in tuned and more in depth in who we really are. So we have this physical body that we have to take, that we have to take care of. Because if we don't take care of this, we are going to suffer. And if we don't take care of our mind and our emotions and our mindsets, we will suffer. And if we don't take care of our spiritual practice, we will suffer. So this whole mind, body, spirit thing is really connecting us with the fact that there's a bigger picture out there too, and that we need community. I mean, I've been listening to podcasts, and I've been listening to all the pastors I listen to, and I've been listening to all these sources, even in my training this weekend. So I just graduated with craniosacral therapy. So I'm now a craniosacral therapist. And so I graduated from that program. But in this program this weekend, we talked about how we need community. We need to build community. And for some of us, that's our church family. And sure, family is great, but having the family isn't necessarily the best source, because they might not be like-minded. They might be value-minded. Like my family and I are very similar value-wise. Like our faith is the same, makes it easy. But there are a lot of other parts that are not the same. Like I have a more broad perspective because I've lived in different areas, not that I've moved out of the state. I don't really care to live anywhere else right now, but I live in the city, which is very different from my family. They won't even come and visit me. Like it's like that, which is completely fine because I'd rather go down the farm anyway. But being able to have a little bit different perspective and see from other cultures' point of views how things are different. So really taking a look and magnifying ourselves, taking care of all aspects of ourselves. And any of these missing pieces does not make a complete whole person. So we need to take care of all of them, but learning where we're having our glitches will help us along that journey of whole wellness, of wholehearted living, and of optimal wellness in our life. Because we can take care of the physical body, but a lot of times just taking care of the physical body is pretty empty too. So these programs will cover all of that. I'll have a lot more information coming out. Like I said, I've been pretty sick. I had a whole shift in my life, and then I got physically sick, and I'm feeling so much better. I'm grateful for the sickness because it made me stop. It didn't even slow me down. Like it did dead stop me. And very grateful for it because I built immunity, which is always a benefit, and that stuff. So in these programs over the next I think it's 3 months till Christmas, I will be talking about the topics. So we'll go through a little bit of the topics, so get a taste of everything, a little bit of information to be able to take home with you or to be able to watch later on. The programs will be developed for 2022. I'll have more information as I start to get that all developed. I will not talk about politics. I will not talk about, I will try to stay away from talking about COVID at all, and especially in any sort of anchored in any direction. I will not talk about religion necessarily. I bring up my experience possibly, but I will not talk about or gear toward anything specific that way. In 2022, that will be very different. The programs will be designed in a very specific way. So the topics will be accordingly. So I want to make sure you understand that. I want to keep this in a very neutral environment so that you guys can get some good information, good solid information. And of course, if you have any questions, there's my information right there.